the kind of plasticity that comes from extreme focus. You would get that extreme focus and alertness naturally through a hard or difficult event that you didn't want.
Welcome back to Biohacking Insights. In today's video, Dr. Andrew Huberman explains whether it is possible to change your brain, and if it is, how can it be done, and what the chemistry behind it is. Let's find out.
Most people are familiar with the word neuroplasticity process, which is the brain and nervous system's ability to change itself. There are a lot of reasons why the nervous system would do this.
Dr. Huberman explains that our nervous system has an incredible feature called neuroplasticity, which allows our brain and nervous system to adapt and change in response to experiences, which also empowers us to learn new things, think differently, overcome negative experiences, and essentially adapt to life's challenges by becoming better versions of ourselves. Stay tuned until the end to learn practical strategies you can use to harness this power and reshape your brain. So, our nervous system's ability to modify itself can be triggered by various events. Traumatic experiences, like a car accident, might create anxieties. Conversely, positive experiences, like witnessing an athletic feat, can also trigger change. He further explains that we're all born with a nervous system designed to change, not just capable of it. When we enter the world, our nervous system is a learning machine. A baby's brain has many connections, but they're not yet precise. This is evident in their uncoordinated movements and inability to speak. The initial overabundance of connections, like a tangled mess of roads, allows for exploration and learning. As we mature, these connections are refined. The ones we used most become stronger, while unused connections fade away. This developmental plasticity from birth to around 25 is primarily about pruning unnecessary connections to optimize the system.
So that's the first important principle that I want everyone to understand, which is that developmental plasticity, the neuroplasticity that occurs from the time we're born until about age 25, is mainly a process of removing connections that don't serve our goals well. We experience something once, and then our nervous system is forever changed by that experience.
Our nervous system is profoundly shaped by our experiences. Imagine it as a vast web of connections in a newborn, capable of many things, but not excelling in any. Through interactions with caregivers, our environment, and even the languages we learn, these connections become customized. Certain brain regions dedicated to processing sights, sounds, and smells are particularly adaptable. However, other areas critical for survival, like those controlling breathing and digestion, are hardwired for stability. Thankfully, we don't need to consciously remember to breathe. The good news is that during childhood, adolescence, and young adulthood, learning can happen almost passively. Children effortlessly pick up languages, for instance. This is because the young brain is a plasticity machine, constantly forming new connections. By around age 25, something interesting happens. While the famous saying, "fire together, wire together," holds true for early development, it doesn't quite apply anymore. Those superhighways of connectivity become more sculpted, and changing them requires specific strategies. So, in the later part of the videos, we'll learn strategies that involve deliberately altering our internal state to create an environment for change.
If you want to learn something or you want to change your nervous system in any way, whether or not it's because of some impairment or because of something that you want to acquire, a cognitive skill, a motor skill, an emotional skill, the first thing is recognizing what that thing is.
Chemistry of change. The first step to changing your nervous system is recognizing what you want to change. It may be a new skill, a way of thinking, or managing emotions. While identifying this goal can be a little hard, the brain has built-in mechanisms to help. These mechanisms aren't mystical or spiritual. They're based on neurochemicals. When we consciously decide to make a change, specific chemicals are released in the brain. These chemicals create a window of opportunity for our nervous system to adapt. Science has identified specific protocols to maximize this window and solidify the changes we desire. But not every experience rewires your brain. As adults, Our brain doesn't change just because we experience something new. That's because of neurochemicals. These chemicals are released when we're focused on making a change, strengthening or weakening the connections of active neurons. So, according to Huberman, to change our nervous system, we need to be strategic. We need to be strengthening or weakening the connections of those particular active neurons. But we can't simply add new connections without giving something up, and if dig deeper, this limitation turns out to be an advantage. According to Huberman, pruning unused connections and strengthening the important ones, the brain becomes more efficient at processing information and performing tasks. And then the limited space for connections forces the brain to prioritize. When we focus on something and strengthen its connections, it becomes easier to learn and improve in that specific area. This targeted plasticity allows us to develop expertise and hone our skills. The key point is that significant change requires focused attention. This raises the question, why is focused attention so important for neuroplasticity?
The experiences that you pay super careful attention to are what open up plasticity, and it opens up plasticity to that specific experience. So the question then is why?
The more focused our attention, the more the brain is able to change. The answer lies in specific neurochemicals. These chemicals create a window of opportunity for any kind of learning throughout our lives. This could involve managing emotions, acquiring new information like languages, or developing motor skills like dance. The key is focused attention. So why is focused attention so important? When we pay close attention, two brain chemicals called neuromodulators are released. These chemicals highlight the brain circuits that have the potential to change. Epinephrine, also known as adrenaline, is one of these chemicals. Epinephrine is released from a part of the brainstem called the locus coeruleus. This region broadcasts epinephrine throughout the brain, but only during moments of high alertness. This widespread release is designed to wake up the entire brain. Epinephrine works by making neurons more likely to fire, which is the first step towards making changes in those circuits. So no alertness, no neuroplasticity.
Now let's talk about how we would translate all this scientific information and history into some protocols that you can actually apply.
Now let's get down to the practical ways, the strategies, you can use this science to improve your brain plasticity. You can mix behavioral changes with medications or brain-computer interfaces, but it's entirely optional. But here is what the research tells us about accessing neuroplasticity. We know that epinephrine, also known as adrenaline, is the main thing here. Alertness is essential for its release. Most people achieve this with coffee and good sleep. So getting enough sleep is crucial. Once you've addressed sleep, how do you get alert? There are many strategies. Some people use elaborate methods like public commitments. They might post a picture online, vowing to learn a language or lose weight. This creates accountability, which can be helpful. The interesting thing is, from the brain's perspective, the reason behind your motivation doesn't matter. Epinephrine doesn't care if you're driven by love, hate, fear, or anger. These emotions all trigger the release of epinephrine and heighten alertness. So, if you're struggling to feel motivated, identify multiple reasons why you want to make a change. Find a goal that excites you, but also consider the flip side. The fear of failure or disappointment can also be a motivator.
So I suggest that everyone ask themselves, what is it that I want to accomplish?
And sometimes, motivation can be a challenge. To jumpstart your brain's plasticity, ask yourself 2 or 3 questions to identify what truly motivates you. Is it driven by fear, love, or a combination of both? Figuring this out will help you focus your energy and attention on the task at hand. The most important thing to know is that strong emotions, whether positive or negative, can all trigger the release of epinephrine and put your brain in a state of alertness, which is the first step of learning and change. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our life-changing videos. And if you want to learn skills faster, our next video reveals the best way to learn skills with something as simple as visualization. Stay tuned.